Hi everybody, welcome. I hope both Sazil and I are audible and visible. We've had a slight technical hiccup. We wanted to start at 8 o'clock, but there was a slight tech issue at our end. थोड़ा सर्दी में इंटरनेट भी बोल रहा है थोड़ा आराम करने दो हीट अप होने में मेरे को थोड़ा टाइम लगता है सो couple of issues at our end which are resolved now, so we are here. Two things we'll cover today. Obviously talk a little bit about this last mock and its analysis. We won't get too deep into it. ज्यादा stress मत लो उसके ऊपर. 3 days to go to XAT. थोड़ा बहुत ऊपर से देख लेंगे. Level of difficulty vis-a-vis actual XAT of last year थोड़ा देख लेंगे. But more importantly, between Sazil, me, and a couple of others who will be joining us, we'll get a little deeper into the last minute tips. Yeah, Sazil, over to you.
अभी तो like in CAT, enough mocks given, enough practice done. अभी जहां पहुंचे वहां पहुंच गए हैं, right? So time to revise, time to analyze, and time to थोड़ा सा chill.
Absolutely.
है ना?
Absolutely. So important part, don't stress too much with respect to the last mock that you've taken. थोड़ा बहुत overview देख लेना, the things that we discuss in terms of level of difficulty, section wise and overall. Were you able to judge that in the mock or not? Don't stress too much. अगर quant में 7 आया, DM में 4 आया, verbal में 8 आया, just relax. Forget all of that at this point in time. Just get a little deeper into whether you were able to identify the LOD during the paper. Baki, you all are prepped enough. You prepped for CAT, you prepped for NMAT, you prepped for SNAP, now XAT. So you've put in all the hard work, you put in all the hard yards. Don't take too much stress. However, we'll focus a little bit on what you should be doing probably over the last 72 hours as well, and certain queries that might be in your mind at this point in time ki agar aisa ho gaya to kya, agar waisa हो गया तो क्या, मेरे को उठा के 500 किलोमीटर दूर फेंक दिया है एग्जाम लिखने के लिए, जाऊं कि ना जाऊं, and such things. So we'll pick all of that up, but please do confirm that both Sazil and I are audible first and foremost. So just waiting to hear that. I see quite a few of you all online.
Yeah, GB, that's another thing यार. XAT ने अजीब सा इधर-उधर फेंक दिया है. But मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि this is not the time for us to think about that. This is our time to go and take test. If you are still thinking ना कि टेस्ट लेना चाहिए या नहीं लेना चाहिए, मेरे हिसाब से लेना चाहिए. थोड़ा पेन होगा, थोड़ा मेहनत करोगे, ठीक है, बाद में अच्छा कहानी, you'll get a good story for yourself. कि we traveled so many kilometers to take a test, but do it. What do you say? Perfect. What is your take?
Totally. There are no two ways about it. The way I turn around, I remember one student was asking this a few days ago, and my funda to him or her was exactly this, that the additional 15 or 20,000 that you will spend at this point in time, think of that as investment. जब 25-30 लाख की salary मिलेगी 2 साल बाद, and then you will be like, ये क्या था? This was nothing like it. So that's the way I would like to go ahead and have a look at it. I see a couple of you all. Hey, thanks for that, Kushagra, Parth, and okay, I don't know whether the name is Chumchi or not, but yeah, okay. So thanks for that. At least we're audible and visible for sure. Also, we've got Abhilasha who's just joined in. Shashank will be joining us very soon as well. We'll go ahead and delve a little deeper into all aspects of the paper. A couple of you all are turning around and stating, please share a few last moment tips for VARC and DM. We will. Since I think some of the questions of DM missed the ethics sense, focused on monetary, forget it. It did not. Let's make that clear. Number one, it did not. Second, अब ज़्यादा stress मत करो. Think of it, ये XAT 2020 का DM था, जो ना उनको समझ आया ना आपको समझ आया. Take it with a pinch of salt and move on. This is not the time to delve deeper into what it could have been, what it could not have been. I think with less than 72 hours to go, don't stress yourself out too much with respect to these things. But yeah, Abhilasha is here. In case you have 1 or 2 specific queries, you can pick it up. But my personal suggestion, don't stress too much about specific questions at this point in time. Sazil, Abhilasha, should we kickstart?
Yep, absolutely. Hi, Abhilasha.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Hi, guys. So happy New Year, by the way.
Yeah. So as Happy New Year, guys. I think first session that we're probably taking, strategy session in the 2025. So yeah, thanks for that, Abhilasha.
May
very happy New Year to you and happy New Year to all students.
Yeah, May 2025 is very successful for you. Yeah, all of you.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
यार
so let's start off with
मुझे कुशाग्र और चुमची का जो डिस्कशन चल रहा है ना, मुझे उसमें कुछ बोलना है. So first of all, I'm making a generic statement that cutting down salaries of 20% of teachers or sometimes firing someone need not always be ethically or morally wrong. It depends on the situation. So डिसीजन मेकिंग में ये मानना कि किसी का सैलरी काट दिया तो अनएथिकल है, ऐसा नहीं होता. आई एम जस्ट टेकिंग द एग्जांपल दैट कुशागर हैज टेकन, just giving a generic
Simple example.
sort of
Simple example, take COVID, right? For consideration, during COVID, a lot of firms went ahead and decided that that's the best way to ensure stability and to ensure that across the board everybody has the ability to stay on and hold on to a job. So cutting salary might not necessarily, in fact, it would be the most ethical thing to do, for all you know, rather than unethical. So yeah, I completely agree with
and
what
decision making
Cecile
में कई बार है ना जीवी, हम लोग स्टेक होल्डर बेनिफिट की बात करते हैं, लार्जर बेनिफिट. उसमें there are sometimes it happens that you might have to take a hit somewhere to for the larger benefit. So that's not ethical. उसमें ethics is not the point. I think हम लोग ethics को बहुत loosely use करते हैं. Anyway, so not getting there. चलो, over to.
Absolutely. I think at this point in time, guys, don't stress over all of this. Okay? Let's get deep into it. I'm guessing this was the reaction for quite a few of you all. I've been seeing the Telegram groups. I think all of us have been कि भाई ये क्या हो गया मेरे साथ. अच्छा ये आज होना, संडे को ना हो. जितना होना था ये सब आज हो जाए. संडे को hopefully निकल के आके that what lips are in the right order, upside down. जो अभी है वो सही हो जाए. That's the hope. But let's get deeper. So this is the story. This is what the mock looks like, from a sectional and an overall perspective. If you look at the graph at the top left, imagine this to be a DI set that is coming on Sunday. So isko decode kar lo. There are four simple bar charts in front of you. Top left, we're talking about the VALR. Top right, DM. Bottom left, the QADI, and bottom right, we're talking about overall. Blue is what it was in the actual XAT paper in 2024, which means Jan 2024 जब exam हुआ था, and orange is what it was this time in this particular mock. So as you can see, DM में मजा आया लोगों को. The marks have gone down at the same percentile as is visible. So not to stress. So just imagine if I'm one of those who ended up scoring just about 7 marks, I still scored a 90 percentile. I've gone ahead and cleared all sectionals. Come Sunday, come 3 days down the line or 5 days down the line or 10 days down the line when the results come out, none of you all will care about your marks. You all will all care about your percentile. You all will all care about मेरे को वो 90 आया 95 आया कि नहीं, which means irrespective of level of difficulty of the paper, were you able to ensure from a relative perspective you had performed decently? And that is what this mock hopefully has tested, and it is something that will hopefully keep you in good stead come Sunday, that in case DM turns out to be a little tricky. Last 2 years has been good. Trust me, last 2 years DM has been fun. But if you go back to 2020, you go back, I think earlier 2011 or so, they have set couple of papers which have been tricky, which have left us wondering exactly that बोलना क्या चाह रहा है. आज तक हम लोग वो आंसर्स decode नहीं कर पाए. It's been 5 years or 10 years, but yeah, that could happen. So please don't double guess or second guess. Just take it, with a pinch of salt. Go through the solutions. Hopefully that will go ahead and help you. But yeah, I think DM is where most people had a little bit of trouble. So that is just what my suggestion is going to be. Don't delve too deep into it. Even an 85 percentile was probably at, about 6.5, 7 marks. So chill, just chill. If you are able to get there, sort it. Yeah, Abhilasha.
No, so what I was saying about the DM section was that if you look at the last 2 years or the last 3 years, it has been very easy. The problem with DM comes when they give you those numerical sets, but those haven't come in the last 3-4 years, and therefore probably it makes a lot of sense for us not to worry about that. So all I would suggest for anyone is that you go through the last 3-4 years PYQs. What that will do is it will orient you or reorient you into the exam pattern, and that's something that will be very helpful. So if at any point of time you are panicking, go to the PYQs and just solve those. I think that is the best benchmark of your understanding of the exam and your understanding of your own preparation also. So if somebody does that, then that will be like really, really helpful. Sorry?
Yeah, your voice is going a little, Abhilasha. Just check once. There might be some other system that's on at your place.
I think you have your YouTube logged in a phone as well.
Me? No, nothing is logged in.
Okay. So it is echoing a little. Just have a look at it. Mehul, I'll pick up your question. What is the sectional cutoff for each section in terms of percentile? See, the sectional cutoff in XAT, depends upon a couple of factors. First factor, you're a male or a female. Second factor, you're an engineer or a non-engineer. So the highest cutoff is generally for a male engineer. The lowest is for a female non-engineer. That's how it generally operates. So for a female non-engineer, when it comes to HRM, it could even be somewhere around the 80 percentile, 78, 80 percentile mark across sections. Verbal is generally the highest, might be close to about 85. And for a male engineer, quant generally hovers between 86 to 90 percentile, whereas the other sections are generally between 82 to 85 percentile. General rule of thumb, irrespective of the level of difficulty of the paper, irrespective, even if it turns out to be an absolute sitter, 10 marks in verbal, 10 in DM, 12 in quant, and overall 35 will guaranteed ensure you clear the cutoff. Obviously, if the paper is tougher, it will be lower. There have been years where verbal cutoff has just been 6 marks, quant cutoff has just been 7 marks, DM cutoff has just been 4 marks. So that varies basis level of difficulty, but general rule of thumb is 10, 10, 12, and 35 sorted. Okay, I hope that kind of helps it. And we've taken a session on this in terms of XAT strategy and cutoffs and all. So you can go ahead and have a look at that as well in case you feel that that will help you. Yeah. Sazil, Shashank, Shivku. Hey, hi Shivku. Happy New Year from all of us. Anything, that you all would like to add on this slide?
I think you said it all. I think we can go ahead to the next one.
Perfect. So I think just a couple of things to keep in mind. Quant probably turned out to be easier. As you can see at the lower end, and 80 percentile last year in XAT was 4 and here it's 8. So it's almost double. That means the number of easier questions or sitters was slightly higher. But at the upper end, the jump isn't that much. So a 99 percentile went from 14 to just 15, 15 and a half, which means sitters higher the, but overall level of difficulty in terms of difficult questions and wo bhi dekhoge to similar hai. Quite a skewed paper in terms of quant, and I think Shashank will get into it when we get to quant. And from a verbal perspective, I think a good paper in terms of across the board, you can see the score to percentile is higher than what it has been, than what it was last year, whether it's at the 80 percentile mark or at the 99 percentile mark. Okay, so let's quickly move on. If we move on to the VALR part, if we have a look at VALR, this is basically what it looks like, and this is something that we've delved deeper into in terms of kya hai, from a sectional perspective. This is basically how the paper was broken up, and Sazil, Abhilasha, feel free to come in. If you look at the questions, sabse pehle, once again, this is a good DI set, right? This could also, come in XAT on Sunday. Look at the right hand side, the legend becomes very nice. Red means I'm the devil. Better leave me alone. Don't try. Green means I'm the angel. And yellow means, okay, you missed me. So let's just put it that way. FIB, as you can see, a couple of questions there. One question at that 50%, accuracy rate, and the other, as you can see, below 40. Similar for para jumbles as well. So generally, the way I look at verbal, and this is coming from a guy who feels he's slightly stronger at quant than verbal, I generally base my verbal on FIB, para jumble, grammar, most of this. And if you look at this, there are about 6 questions. So I like to turn around and state, can I get about 4-5 marks here so that I'm sorted up? Baki paper mein mujhe 5 marks hi chahiye. That's the way I like to approach it. So this paper was probably not ideal for that. The way I look at it, you could probably have gotten about 3 to 4 correct, but a couple wrong, which means jo mere ko 5 marks ke aaspas chahiye tha, I might have ended up at 3.5 or so, which means I would have needed to go ahead and look at RCs. But the good part is couple of RCs were there up for the taking. Yes, Azir.
So GB, I was saying that after doing this preparation for SNAP and NMAT, of course not the same thing, but FIB and grammar should not be so difficult at this stage. Maybe if you were sitting in November end and we were taking CAT, at that time we were completely unprepared about FIB and grammar in that sense, right? So that's my take on this. Also, the good part is having multiple RCs here I'm very free to choose the best ones that work for me. For example, if someone could have figured out, and I think
test as well.
Abhilasha can throw some light on this, कि tribal loyalty वाला question नहीं करने लायक था. Now, whether was it the passage or was it the questions is something that Abhilasha can throw some more light on, because I have not taken that particular RC. So yeah, Abhilasha. Abhilasha, are we audible? No.
Am I audible, guys?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. No, I don't know. I'm not able to hear you guys for some reason. Except for...
Hello.
There's some tech issue. Abhilasha, can you talk about this particular section, the verbal section, if you're able to hear us?
मैम के नेट में इशू है थोड़ा सा.
I think my network there's something wrong with my network. Give me 2 minutes, guys. I will rejoin. Okay.
An issue. But like we are looking at in the comments, if you see, Rid is also pointing out tribal loyalty was easy to understand but hard to solve, and I think that's the sense of that. देख के easy लगता है, question में जब अंदर घुसो, then you really realize कि भैया actually चल क्या रहा है. And on that note, welcome GP. Happy New Year. Welcome to the analysis.
Thank you, and I'm sorry to be late, and I'm sorry I'll be leaving early because I'm between. This is between interviews and between form filling for I'm Cozy Code. So, but I thought it'd be good to just join in for those 10-15 minutes that I can.
Right. So just taking the cue from what GB said. GB, on the same note, and लोग poem से डरते हैं. Poem से डरते हैं, लेकिन the poem is generally always solvable. उसको बस वो दिमाग से वो निकालना पड़ता है कि ये poem है, तो मुझसे नहीं होगा. Right? I think that's also something we've told before in the other analyses that we conducted, and the data also says the same. So yeah.
कई बार पोएम की जगह वो लोग एक एपिक भी दे देते हैं, an epic or a drama. I remember Julius Caesar has come one year. Yeah, so that's important. I hope Abhilasha, we're audible to you now.
No, I think she's not able to hear us.
Looks like probably there is a slight issue.
Am I audible and visible now, guys? I don't know what was happening to my internet.
Perfect. You're audible and visible.
All right. My bad, guys. Sorry. So if you are to look at XAT, the VALR section, one very interesting thing is... Okay. All right. Thank you. So if we are to look at the XAT VALR section, a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. Number one, we have adequate amount of time at hand. It's not like any of the other exams that you won't have enough time, right? So it's not a speed game. It's more of a pick and choose the right question game. So number one, choose your questions. There are, because there are 5 options, it is slightly more difficult, but there are plenty of questions to choose from. So whether it is, and especially the VA questions. So if you are to pick and choose the fill in the blanks, the grammar questions are absolute hitters, right? So if you're able to pick those, at least 2 questions you get right there, and they're very easy. They're just testing you on prepositions and articles, absolutely simple things. So those 2 questions you should attempt. Look at the FIBs. The FIBs are also very simple. Compared to the other questions, please understand, I'm giving you a relative understanding. It's not that it is very easy by itself, but if you look at the other questions, the FIBs are definitely easier. If you were to look at the this test also, at least one of the FIB the first one was very doable because the options were close, but very doable. So you could have done that. Parajumbles, I generally find the parajumbles to be difficult in this exam. Why? Because you have 5 options, 5 sentences, 5 options to work through, and the options generally are very close. So if you are looking at doing parajumbles, then try and pick 2 pairs, 2 mandatory pairs, and then you should be able to get your parajumble right. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. one area where everybody finds issues is the poem RC. Now, the poem RC, I generally feel is one of the things that you should do. The poems are generally very easy. They're 5 to 6 to 8 lines. The Rumi poems have not come for the last so many years now. So those were long and painful to read. But these poems that you're getting nowadays are very easy. So if you do get a poem, take time and read. And then answer the 2 questions, 2 or 1 questions. One of the questions is always the theme of the poem. So that's very easy to decode. So read, understand, and answer that. The other question sometimes is a paraphrasing of one of the sentences, which again is not very difficult. So that's one thing that you can do. So 2 questions of grammar, at least 1 question of FIB, at least 1 question of poem. These are like 4 or 5 questions that you can very easily attempt. And then if you do a couple of questions for CR, you're quite sorted. Okay. I don't know if I'm still visible and audible for some reason. Okay.
It was good, visible and audible. Thanks for that. So I think, yeah, overall perspective, very similar to what, a person who's not good at VARC would also state. I like to go ahead and maximize verbal as much as possible. And like Sazil pointed out, itna grammar, itna FIB kar liya hai, abhi snap or, NMAT ke liye, that hopefully this is a place that at least you'll be able to go ahead and get a few marks in your pocket. And my rule of thumb remains the same. 10 in verbal. If I have, I know that I've cleared the sectional cutoff irrespective of level of difficulty of this paper. Now, in order to do that, if I can get about 3 to 4 marks, maybe 5 marks from verbal, then my dependence on RC is very, very minimal. One place where I personally feel, you get tested a lot in XAT is critical reasoning. And I'm not surprised looking at the graph here. If you look at it, there is no green in critical reasoning at all. It's all red and yellow. And this generally ends up being a slight issue. So you might also want to take a punt in terms of whether this is where you want to spend too much time or not. If you've practiced this enough, if you've gone through enough number of questions of CR, please go ahead, spend time, but don't take a punt here in terms of मैंने practice नहीं किया है, but मेरे को लगता है मैं ये कर पाऊंगा और मैं कर लूँ. I hope you spent enough time going ahead and practicing this, because these are very, very specific topics which otherwise you can make errors in. So don't end up losing a lot of marks here for no reason. Anything, GP, Sazil, that you would want to add here before we move to DM? You're on mute, GP. You're on mute.
Yeah, Sazil, Gautam, what you, Sazil, and Abhilash says, I'll only be repeating that part. End of the day, this is a paper in which you need to pick and choose the right questions. The verbal part, which is grammar, vocabulary, fill in the blanks, is the place where you have to score. Parajumbles, that is roughly 50% of the paper. Out of 28, you can get anything from 12 to 14 questions. And they're getting 7-8 marks means you are almost cleared the cutoff, or probably you have cleared the cutoff. And when it comes to critical reasoning, as you rightly said, if you understand, mark and move on. Don't try to think that I'll spend 5 minutes and get the answer. Is not going to happen. You'll only create confusion and you'll get a negative and also waste time. So that's a simple rule to follow. Poem, as you said, is something which is easy to handle. If not both, at least one question you'll be able to get it right. And similarly, in the RC passages, you go just take the same route, which means read the passage, whatever question you understand, mark. Where you are confused, leave and move on. And finally, don't worry about the negative marking for unattempted questions.
जीबी सर आप म्यूट पे हो.
तो म्यूट पे हो आप.
जीबी म्यूट पे. मुझे लगा कि मेरे कुछ प्रॉब्लम होगी.
My bad. Actually, the voice is echoing so much today that we're all going back on mute the moment after we speak. So basically, moving on to the DM section, as you can see, and this is something we've already spoken about, probably one of those DMs which was not a sitter, unlike what came in the last 2 years. So you can see that the marks have fallen a 90 percentile, probably just at around 6.5, 7 marks. But that can happen, and it's good that you've experienced it now. It doesn't happen for the first time in XAT on Sunday. There could be tricky questions. There could be questions where you might feel, "Arey, ye to ethical hai hi nahi," but wo answer hai. Like Sazil was pointing out, reducing or cutting the salary of faculty by 20% or teachers by 20%. Not necessarily an unethical thing. If that is what the environment is, if that is what it mandates
that is
to
the need of
ensure
the business
everybody else
maybe at that
hypothetically
time.
gets the job, it's positive.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sazil?
Yeah, exactly. I was just adding to what you said. Absolutely.
Perfect. So yeah, so that's just an example. So let's not always try and preempt the definition of ethicality as well. So just be slightly careful on that front. Let's get a little deeper into what it looked like. And this is a kind of a scary bar graph. कुछ ज़्यादा ही red दिख रहे हैं मुझे. If I calculate this, that's what 9, 11, 13, 15. So that's a good 75% of the paper almost. You can turn around and state which is in the red zone, and a couple of questions which are in the yellow zone. So guaranteed not a very easy DM section for sure. Abhilasha, if we are audible, probably you can pick it up from here, get a little deeper into this. I don't know whether we are audible or not. Okay. So whenever she hears, I guess there's a lag at her end. So whenever she hears, she'll probably get into it. GP, Sazil, anything specific with respect to the DM paper? I've not spent too much time looking at it.
Am I audible
very
now?
specifically, but in case.
Yes, ma'am.
GB, am I audible now?
Yes.
Anji, ma'am.
Yes. Please continue.
See, the DM paper, I think more than anything else, it will always boil down to being able to identify the objective, what is it that the question wants, which is usually given, and connecting it to the criteria which you should be using. And and most of the time when DM has a difficult question, it is usually because we are missing out on one of the two things. Either we are not clear about the criteria, or we are sure of what are we trying to achieve through it. And also what we try to do is we try to look at it from a personal point of view. Okay? So you have to always look at from the case point of view, and that is where probably the issue would be. If I look at the red and the green lines, this appears to be a difficult one. And my suggestion to the students would be to just go to the solution, see what did they miss out on. Yeah. This reminds me of XAT 2020 actually.
I just pointed it out, GP, right at the beginning. It looks like a 2020 paper.
Yeah.
Perfect. So 2020 में हमने simple बोला है, and I remember GP stating this across all the analysis. That is one paper not to see when you are preparing for XAT 2025. In the same way, you can probably ignore this DM section. Don't stress too much on it. If it didn't go your way, didn't go your way. Focus on the other DMs you've done, the other PYQPs. That's the best way to look at Sunday. 72 hours to go to the exam. Don't stress over a section, which was slightly difficult and slightly tricky, more from the perspective of giving you a complete feel of what could happen on the day of XAT, so that you are one of those who's prepared in case something terrible happens like XAT 2020 and you don't get into a state of shock. Perfect. Probably we can move on to the quant part now. Getting a little deeper into it from a quant perspective, and we've got Shashank. He solved the entire paper, so he'll probably get deeper into it. I'll just pick up one question. GP Parth is saying that DM had a lot of questions where we pick a set of options and arrange them in an order of supporting a condition. That's where it becomes tricky. Any suggestions? I'm guessing the descending order, ascending order basis the criteria that is given. So any recommendations there, GP?
Yeah, the only recommendation there would be don't try to fix a complete thing. If you can say statement 2 should come before statement 5, eliminate choices. So these are questions which they, because whether it should be 1, 2 or 2, 1 can become very, very tricky at times. But the two extremes or something which are separated by 2 or 3 statements is easier to pick out. So the approach I have is I don't bother about what is the exactly correct sequence. That is not what I'm interested in. All I'm interested in, which one should 2 come before 5 or 5 should come before 2. If I have clarity of that, I'll go to the choices and eliminate.
So if we actually look at the XAT questions also, the questions are framed in such a manner that the most difficult and the least difficult options are always at the two ends. So if somebody has picked those, then they will be able to get the right answer. So using the options also makes a lot of sense in such cases when you're trying to order the situations. So that's something that you can definitely try and remember.
So
Yes, sir.
let's see about the quant. So basically, I say the question is easy. That does not mean I'm able to solve that question. So when I say question is easy, what I mean is within 30 seconds to a minute, that question tells me कि मुझे करना है कि नहीं करना है. ठीक है. So if I'm going to take a so सो अगर मुझे बहुत टाइम लग रहा है ये फिगर आउट करने में कि क्वेश्चन को करना है या नहीं करना है, एंड आई एम वेरी कंफ्यूज्ड, सो आई कंसीडर दैट क्वेश्चन इज एक्चुअली डिफिकल्ट. सो इन दैट वी आर गोइंग टू फाइंड अ लॉट ऑफ डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस जहां पे आपको क्लैरिटी नहीं आएगी कि होगा, करना है कि नहीं करना है. देयर आर ओनली फ्यू सिटर्स इन दैट एंड एवरी क्वेश्चन इज एन आरसी. लास्ट ईयर मेरे ख्याल से जेपी सर हम लोग जब पेपर देके आए थे डिस्कस कर रहे थे, सो उसमें एक मतलब उसमें हर क्वेश्चन में एक आधा पेज भरा हुआ था कहानी, और 3 लाइन की जो पूरे पूरे पैसेज में 3 लाइन थे जो काम के थे. सो फिगरिंग दैट आउट इन that is actually a little tricky part. There are few questions I would say they were easy का मतलब कि तुरंत समझ में आ गया कि ये नहीं होगा, औकात के बाहर का क्वेश्चन है, छोड़ो, ठीक है. There are few questions that we knew कि हमसे तुरंत हो जाएगा, right? So, Pranav, I would say I can't advise anything on this. Everyone has a different strategy. So, unlike CAT, in CAT, what do we have? We don't have a choice कि मतलब quant पहले करना है, VA पहले करना है, LR पहले करना है. वहाँ पे सब fix है, right? You don't have multiple choices of selection the section. But in that, what happens? A lot of people, what people do, they start with VA. थोड़ा टाइम वीए पे देते हैं, फिर थोड़ा टाइम डीएम करते हैं, फिर थोड़ा टाइम क्यूए करते हैं, वापस से वीए पे आते हैं. सो बेसिकली एवरीवन हैज अ डिफरेंट स्ट्रेटजी. द बेस्ट पार्ट ऑफ दैट इज कि उसमें कोई आपका फिक्स अप्रोच नहीं है, ठीक है, कोई वो टाइम नहीं है आपके लिए, सेक्शनल टाइम लिमिट नहीं है. तो सेक्शनल टाइम लिमिट नहीं होने से आप क्या कर सकते हो, अपने हिसाब से टाइम डिफाइन कर सकते हो. आपको यहाँ पे इतना टाइम देना है, यहाँ पे इतना टाइम देना है, यहाँ पे इतना टाइम देना है, और आप बार बार मूव कर सकते हैं. सो देयर इज नो सजेशन फ्रॉम माय एंड कि आपको पहले क्यूए से शुरू करना है या वीएलआर से शुरू करना है, कहीं से भी अपन शुरू कर सकते हैं. So let's see this question. So when I was solving this question, this paper, I realized there is no question that I can solve in 30 seconds to a minute. Every question was calculative, but there are at least 12 to 14 questions that I can solve within 2 to 2.5 minutes. And I think those questions must be done. So for example, if I am going to take question number 48, just give me a moment. Let me share the screen. So
while Shashank is stating that, I'll pick up Pranav's question while Shashank is getting that on the screen. Pranav, I'll echo what Shashank is stating. Completely echo. In fact, it's what he just pointed out is something similar to what I do. I like to start with verbal. I like to move to DM and finally go to quant. Main reason, verbal मेरे को सबसे ज़्यादा tricky लगता है यहाँ. Critical reasoning easy नहीं लगता. So fresh mind के साथ करना है. Quant, according to me, relatively across the 3 sections is the easiest. Why? You have too much time to do the amount of questions that you have to do. I generally like to look at about 75 minutes for quant. उसमें DI पे spend कर दो 20 minutes, 55 minutes, go ahead and do in quant, and you feel like you've got enough time to go ahead and concentrate on it. So I would echo what Shashank is stating, which is it's completely up to you. But I follow the age-old method that Shashank pointed out, which is I generally move on from verbal to DM to quant. And the way I look at it as a person who thinks he's better at quant as compared to others, in quant plus DI, I want to look at around 20 to 22 attempts. In verbal, I like to look at somewhere around 15 to 18 attempts. And in DM, I look at somewhere around 18 attempts as well. And then I turn around and state कि शायद DM में accuracy will be around 70-75%, verbal में accuracy might be somewhere around 70% or 65%, but quant में hopefully the accuracy will be close to 85-90%. That's the way I like to go about it. Back to you, Shashank. I think we're back on screen.
So let's see if you are going to see question number 48. बहुत ही standard question है. We have done so many questions of these type. So this is a question when I was solving this question for the first time. I took some time, maybe 1.5 minutes. लेकिन आसान question है. Normal LCM approach, the work thing. In question number 49, when I was solving this question, I didn't make an AP. I simply wrote down each and every term and figured out. It took me around 2.5 to 3 minutes, but I got the answer. ज़्यादा सोचा ही नहीं. Question number 50 is easy. Just write whatever the question is saying. You will be able to do it very easily. ठीक है, कुछ नहीं करना है क्वेश्चन नंबर 50 में. क्वेश्चन नंबर 51 is also very similar. कुछ भी नहीं करना है. Very easy question. But when I'm saying very easy, it does not mean that you are able to solve that question within 30 seconds or 45 seconds. When I'm saying question is easy, you are going to get the answer more likely in 2.5 minutes. Doable question है. Now, when I am going to get to this question, question number 52, it is a tricky one. ठीक है, मतलब अगर आपको नहीं समझ में आता, कहानी बहुत ज्यादा लिखी हुई है, बहुत ज्यादा चीजें हैं, तो अगर नहीं समझ में आता है तो छोड़ दो. क्वेश्चन नंबर 53 इज एक्सट्रीमली गुड क्वेश्चन. आप एक बार पढ़िए, 2 बार पढ़िए, तीसरी बार पढ़िए और छोड़ दीजिए. कुछ नहीं करना है. नहीं होगा ये. ठीक है, इन द एग्जाम आई डोंट थिंक इट्स इजी टू सॉल्व. इट्स एक्चुअली डिफिकल्ट वन. सो मुझे लग रहा है कि 53 भी इजी है. इजी इसलिए कि आराम से पढ़ो, छोड़ दो, कि क्लैरिटी है इस क्वेश्चन में कि नहीं करना है. ठीक है. सो क्वेश्चन नंबर 54, again, if you are going to read twice, thrice, I think language is very tricky and language is very confusing. So if you are unable to comprehend this question, then leave it. Question number 55, again, it's standard your simple interest, compound interest question. We can easily solve it. So question number 55 is also doable. आसान क्वेश्चन है. क्वेश्चन नंबर 56, इसमें भी कुछ नहीं करना है. क्वेश्चन नंबर 56 is also easy. इसमें पूछा है कि different remainder. If you understand that remainder by 10 is actually the unit digit, then even you don't have to do anything in question number 56 as well. Question number 57 to 59, if you are going to see. So basically, this is a data set and everything is already given in the question. So if you are solving this question, this might take a while. Question number 57 is very easy. Question number 58 might be a little confusing. So if you want, you can skip this question. But 57 is definitely doable. Question number 59, again, if 58 is, you are unable to solve question number 58. Question number 59 might be a little tricky one. Question number 60, nah, ये I think छोड़ने वाला question है. Question number 61, again, it's a easy one. If you are going to read thrice, छोड़ दो, नहीं होगा. ठीक. Question number 62, standard question, आराम से कर सकते हैं. Question number 63, again, an easy question, आराम से कर सकते हैं. Question number 64, it's a question of Venn diagram. You can make Venn diagram, you can get the answer easily. Question number 65 might be tricky. Okay. Question number 66, again, I don't think it has a lot of problems. It can be solved easily. Question number 67, a little bit confusing. The chances of getting it wrong are very high. So 67 छोड़ देना चाहिए अपन को. Question number 68, पट से छोड़ दो, नहीं करना है. Question number 69 to 71, it's a decent set, not that easy, not that difficult. If you have time left, then it should be done. Easy one. All 3 questions can be solved. Question number 72 का जो problem है वो मुझे लग रहा है कि it might have a comprehension issue. बहुत सारे लोग नहीं समझ पाए होंगे इस क्वेश्चन को एग्जाम में. But if you understand that, this question is fairly easy. Then let me move to the next question. Question number 73, I would say it's a tricky one or a little difficult one. Question number 74 was definitely easy and doable. Question number 75, I would say कि ठीक है, but डाइस में अगर आप अनइवन प्रोबेबिलिटी पे के साथ कंफर्टेबल नहीं है और आपको नहीं समझ में आ रहा है कि व्हाट शुड बी द अप्रोच, देन you can leave the question, you can solve the question. Either way it goes. So this is this is a set of all the questions in the paper. Mehul, second DI set, I won't say it's a difficult one. I would say it's a easy one, but very calculative one. Time बहुत लगेगा उसको करने में, difficult नहीं था, सब करने लायक है. So basically, if you are going to see in DI2, if you see the two questions have very high accuracy. In the start, if you see the questions, arithmetic is approximately everyone has done. When I'm looking at algebra, a lot of people haven't done it. Right? Geometry, I would say it's a very beautiful thing कि किसी ने किया ही नहीं क्योंकि पूरा geometry होने वाला ही नहीं था. In this paper, there is no question of geometry that was easy and that can be solved during the exam. So I would say everyone has done a terrific job कि इसमें आप देखो ना तो accuracy है ना attempt है, मतलब किसी ने किया भी नहीं. ये this is something that I find very beautiful कि किया ही नहीं. ठीक है, difficult है, करना भी नहीं था. So arithmetic more or less was doable. If you see everything is green over here, a lot of people have done it. Algebra के कुछ क्वेश्चन और किए जा सकते थे एग्जाम में. Modern maths में भी both questions were tricky. So I think this kind of paper we can expect during the exam. Mehul, that's a good thing. अगर ज्योमेट्री तुम्हारा गेस में सही हो गया, जनरली एग्जाम में गेस में कुछ सही नहीं होता है. So if I have two options B and C, if I pick, my answer is always wrong. So मैं गेस पे नहीं जाता हूँ. So but still I think if you are lucky,
अच्छा चलता है. Approximation में काफी अच्छा चलता है जनरली ज्योमेट्री, if you give it a go. Especially अगर ऑप्शन ऐसे हो. I remember last year XAT क्वेश्चन ऐसे निकाले थे.
GB, approximation is not guess. Approximation
Yes,
is...
that's what I said. Approximation से अच्छा चलता है. I didn't say anything but guess.
हाँ, guess में उसने तो guess में ही सही कर दिया. Okay, I thought answer is 3. Then actual answer was 3.
So to be very honest, in this exam, in XAT specifically, मेरे को maths हो जाती है. मतलब मैं बाकी exams I'm not able to do maths, but in XAT because there is so much time that somebody as slow as I am is also able to do the calculation and do the step-by-step calculation and do it. I'm very bad at maths, but even then I've been able to do the maths, do a few questions, at least 6-7 questions मैं निकाल लेती हूँ. तो मुझे लगता है बाकी लोग जो maths कर रहे हैं, those people should definitely do a few more questions. So मुझे somewhere I find that to be the easiest of all the exams in the toughies, not like the other ones. So,
Mehul, I would say कि no strategy is the best strategy. पहले से सोच के कुछ नहीं जाना. पहले से सोच के गए और कहानी पूरी बदल गई. VA एकदम आसान आ गया.
Slightly differ.
हाँ.
I would slightly differ there. Slightly. I agree with what Shashank is stating to a particular extreme particular level. I would still turn around and state you need to have certain cutoffs and benchmarks in place. The way I like to do it personally is 45 minutes verbal cutoff, 45 minutes DM cutoff, 60 minutes quant cutoff, 150 minutes done. The remaining 20 minutes now is up to me depending on what was easy, difficult. Because अगर मैं कट ऑफ रखूंगा नहीं ना, होगा क्या, वो वर्बल से डिफिकल्ट आया, आई विल कीप थिंकिंग मेरा नहीं होने वाला, सेक्शनल नहीं होने वाला, वो 60 तक चले जाएगा. Then you'll go to DM and you'll suddenly realize, oh my god, I'm not used to this. In my mocks, I was doing this in 50. Now I feel I have lesser time because quant तो मेरे को time लगता है solve करने में. So you need to have certain cutoffs for you. 50, 50, 70 is not bad, but my reco will be don't do 50, 50, 70. Do 45, 45, 60 and then say remaining 20 मैं कहाँ डालने वाला हूँ. Or you do 50, 50, 60 and then say 10 मैं remaining कहाँ डालने वाला हूँ. Always have a 10, 15 or 10 to 20 minute buffer where you turn around and state, अब मैंने पेपर जब 150 मिनट देख लिया है, now I know which section is easy, which section is trickier, where in the last 20 minutes I can get additional 3, 4, 5 marks and go to the easier section and do it. So I agree with Shashank to a certain extent that don't pre-decide ki 50-50 70 होना. But I also will turn around and state, have a cutoff in place, and then the remaining leftover time go back. देखो मेरे को कहाँ डालना है. और generally to be very frank, वो लेफ्ट ओवर टाइम में वर्बल में कुछ एडिशनल नहीं होने वाला. वो आरसी स्टार्टिंग में नहीं चमका, अभी नहीं चमकेगा. डीएम ओवरथिंक करोगे बिकॉज आपको यार ये ऑप्शन भी सही था यार, ये कैसे हो सकते, नहीं यार ये एथिकल नहीं है, नहीं 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 ये पहले. सो जनरली वो एडिशनल टाइम क्वांट में जाता है, क्वांट एंड डीआई
क्वांट में जाएगा. और इनकेस जीबी क्वांट के अलावा अगर फिल इन द ब्लैंक्स और ग्रामर और वो वाले क्वेश्चन छूटे हैं ना, और क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग आल्सो could be taken up.
Critical reasoning is something that you can go back and just do take a look at those questions because they're shorter, so therefore to attempt it is easier. You go to an RC, then you will have to spend like lots of time in understanding the RCs. If you look at last year, the RCs were some of the RCs were so tough, they took time to read, and I took time to read, so therefore I assume कि सबको ही लग रहा होगा थोड़ा टाइम. तो yes, CR is a good bet. DM तो you should never think again. एक बार में जो आंसर आया and just move on, because the minute you look at it again, then you're going to destroy the entire section and you'll start rethinking all the answers. फिर गड़बड़ होती है.
मैम मेरे को लगता है कि इवन बीए में जो क्वेश्चन बच्चा कर चुका है, ठीक है, उस क्वेश्चन को दोबारा नहीं जाना है, नहीं जाना.
उसको वापस नहीं जाना. You cannot go back.
And DM, you should never revise.
Yeah. Don't look at it.
One question you take up with Vishesh's question, no, afterwards.
Aryan is saying physical calculator allowed है, तो नहीं.
No, it's an online calculator, on-screen calculator. Physical will not be allowed.
Okay, I want to take Vishesh's question.
विशेष
अगर कुछ पढ़ा नहीं है तो CAT में 98 परसेंटाइल है था, तो कुछ हो सकता है, बस डीएम पढ़ा है. भाई तुझे क्या लगता है इस स्टेज पे हम ये बोलेंगे कि नहीं कुछ नहीं होगा? ऑफ कोर्स होगा, क्योंकि ऑल द बेस्ट बडी, फोड़ क्या. There's no other answer.
I'll pick up Kashish's and probably add an element to Vishesh's question as well through that. Kashish is stating, and Kashish goes both ways in the sense it could be a male or a female. So मैं English में बोल रहा हूँ is stating, या बोल रही है, बोल रहा है, नहीं बोलता हूँ. But yeah, I am continuously getting 14 and 12 in two subjects, so 26 marks आ गए, pocket में है. QADI I am getting 5. I've studied only arithmetic algebra. How do I maximize? You maximize it by reading the name of the full section. The name of the section is QADI. DI कहाँ गया भाई? क्या बहन? Why are you not focusing on DI? If you're giving yourself about 60-65 minutes, where is the DI?
And DI is
and
arithmetic.
in XAT,
DI is arithmetic.
If I look at XAT over the last few years, the number of DI questions have been 6 to 11. Average लेता हूँ 8 आएंगे. 8 DI के question आ रहे हैं. यार DI में 35 minutes लगा लो. Percentages ही तो है, ratios ही तो है, average ही तो है. Like Shashank is saying, it's arithmetic. And arithmetic you've gone ahead and done. So DI plus arithmetic plus algebra standalone, you will end up getting about 15-16 questions in 70 minutes. Even if you end up taking about 7 minutes per question, you'll do 10. If your accuracy is decent, you should end up scoring your about 7-8 marks. And if you get 7-8, HR cutoff to ho jayega. DM cutoff hoga ki nahi is completely dependent on. Including that, you're getting 5. Then there is a then you have to go back to the drawing board and see problem kya hai. See how much time you're spending in DI, number one. Secondly, how much time you're spending in quant. Like I suggested earlier, my recommendation would be if you're say hypothetically spending about 100 minutes in verbal and DM, you got 70 minutes to go. Whether across 2 rounds or 1 round is completely dependent on you. My suggestion 2 rounds, but 70 minutes to go. Spend 35-40 minutes on DI. DI की specific practice करो, tables देखो, bar graphs देखो, line charts देखो, pie charts देखो. You still have a couple of days. I would still say tomorrow utilize it completely. Go through the test gym, go through the topic tests, and do all topic tests of tables, bar graphs, line charts. If nothing else, सारे mocks का drill down analysis combined वाला देख लो, and सारे DI के sets उठा के solve कर लो. PYQP सारे DI के उठा के कर लो. That in itself would be a number of questions, a number of sets. which should hold you in good stead. Because the way I look at the quant paper, I would turn around and state in those 35 minutes of DI itself, you should be scoring 5-6 marks. If in 70 minutes you're scoring 5-6 totally, then there is something which is seriously going wrong at the DI end. This is a paper, like Abhilasha pointed out, right? Even if you're not very strong in QADI, this should be one of those papers where QADI ka sectional fight now, mainly because of DI. And DI has not been difficult over the last couple of years. हो सकता है हम संडे को आए और बोले DI difficult था, highly probable, हो सकता है. You know, ये मत बोल दे आपने तो बोला था. तुम हमने उसके साथ ये भी ऐड किया था जो शशांक ने किया था, that judge the book by its cover for a change. वो अगर ऊपर से सही नहीं लग रहा तो प्रॉब्लम है. But jokes aside, go ahead and ensure that you spend enough time on DI practicing it, because even in a difficult paper you'll surely get 3 to 4 marks in DI, and in an easier paper you could get about 7-8. Arithmetic plus algebra is not a bad place to be, but I've pointed this out earlier as well. Unlike CAT, this is a paper where algebra, geometry, modern math and numbers, इन चारों को almost equal weightage मिलता है. Utopian, अगर breakup में दूं, the utopian breakup is from each of these you can expect 3 questions, you can expect about 5-6 questions from arithmetic, and you can expect 10 questions from DI. That's generally how the 28 questions are broken up. So if you're not going ahead and spending enough time on the DI, on the arithmetic, then there's a problem. Algebra and arithmetic is not going to be like CAT. It's not the A&A show in like in CAT ki 65-70% of the paper वहां से आएगा, वो नहीं होगा. Geometry is important, modern math is important, numbers is important. If you've not done it now, my one recommendation is going to be geometry के formula तो जरूर देख लेना. There is a formula list on the MyZone. Formula मक करके चले जाओ यार.
And but I would add one point to GB sir, कि I consider DI as a part of QA, arithmetic itself. So if you are very good at data reading and percentage profit loss imbalances compound interest, so basically mota moti arithmetic or algebra ke 18 questions, right? So if I consider DI to be part of arithmetic itself, so basically if you are very strong in arithmetic algebra, cut off तो पक्का निकल जाएगा. तो मतलब 12-13 नंबर तो आ जाएंगे आराम से, ठीक है. बट अगर आप बाकी टॉपिक छोड़ रहे हैं तो आपका इन टॉपिक्स में अच्छा कमांड होना चाहिए. मतलब ऐसा है कि इन दो पे एवरेज है, बाकी तो आते ही नहीं है, तब इशू है, ठीक है. तो अगर आपने बाकी 3 टॉपिक नहीं करे तो और इनमें बहुत तगड़ा कमांड है, तो आप कट ऑफ की चिंता मत करो, कट ऑफ निकल जाएगा आपका, ठीक है. तो उसमें वो जो लोगों को लगता है कि नहीं वो हो जाएगा, ज्योमेट्री नहीं आती, कोई बात नहीं, एक आध क्वेश्चन ज्योमेट्री का हो जाएगा, एक आध क्वेश्चन मॉडर्न मैथ्स का भी हो जाएगा, पूरा डिफिकल्ट नहीं आता उसमें. लेकिन इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट ये है कि अगर आप 2 ही टॉपिक करके जा रहे हैं, अगर आप केवल अरिथमेटिक बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग करके जा रहे हैं, तो भी आपका कट ऑफ निकल जाएगा. आप अच्छा करोगे नहीं करोगे नहीं पता, लेकिन अब अरिथमेटिक करके जा रहे हैं, अरिथमेटिक एवरेज है, तब कुछ नहीं हो रहा. So आपने 3 टॉपिक छोड़े हुए, तो as GBS said, if you know every topic and you are very मतलब not extremely good at every topic, you are a little above average in every topic, then you are going to do great. सब आना चाहिए, क्योंकि सब आता है. इन वो हम लोगों ने लास्ट 3-4 साल के पेपर देख के यही आइडिया लगता है, they are going to ask everything, they are going to ask numbers, geometry, everything. तो उस पे थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा. And Priyanka has asked one question.
Answer this question for a second.
Priyanka ne what kind of paper we can quant questions we can expect? I don't know.
No difference यार, मतलब क्या ही हो गया, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला. वो लोग ने कैलकुलेटर इसलिए दे दिया है ताकि I heard the director of XLR come out and state that the reason that we provided it is we realized that in the last couple of years a lot of students are making silly calculation errors, and because of that they are probably missing out on an opportunity to get interviewed by us and get into one of the top colleges of the country. We don't want you to miss out on that opportunity due to calculation errors. If calculation error is going to define your life, it's just hard luck. Hence we want to provide you a calculator for that. मतलब CAT में calculator आने के बाद quant difficult हो गया था, ऐसा तो कभी भी नहीं हुआ था. So I don't think anything is going to change.
और ऐसा भी नहीं हुआ था they have made paper very lengthy, ऐसा भी नहीं हुआ.
Yeah.
Usual paper.
Not at all.
वैसा ही paper.
Just stayed the same.
Stayed the same.
Perfect. So I'll just pick up one question. Pranch is saying also, sir, any prediction for the XAT, score versus percentile this year? I'm getting an average of 34, 35 overall. Will it suffice for 97? Matlab, sadly, I'm not an astrologer. Sadly, I can't see the future. And sadly, I can't turn around and state कि किस score पे क्या percentile आएगा already without even looking at the paper. All I can turn around and state, if I look at the last 10 years on an average, a sectional of 10, 10, 12 in verbal, DM, and quant, and an overall of 35 has always meant the sectional and overall cutoff has been made. Overall cutoff generally 96 पे होता है, तो अगर मैं उस पर्सपेक्टिव से जाऊंगा, इजी से इजी पेपर पे भी आपका 35 पे 96 परसेंटाइल आ जाना चाहिए. बाकी I don't know. I can't preempt what is going to happen 2 days, 3 days down the line. Had I known that, I would have made a lot of money by now and would have shared some with all of you all, knowing how the markets are going to behave. Okay. But
one question,
let's quickly move on.
Just take Prabjot's question also. So the question was, VA में grammar थोड़ा confusing हो जाता है, leave कर सकते हैं. Prabjot, my suggestion is that you go back to your grammar book and revise 2 topics. One is prepositions and the other is articles. If you just do these 2 topics, trust me, you'll be able to crack the 2 grammar questions. It will take you about 2 hours to go through all the sentences that are given. Please go through all the preposition. Trust me. So don't leave. These are 2 very easy questions that are absolutely attemptable. So make sure that you're doing those.
So let's quickly move on, guys. Let's move on to the second part, which is the last minute tips. And there are a couple of these which are going to be very, very straightforward and obvious, which we'll run through and then focus a little bit more on the last minute tips from all of us. Obviously, revising key concepts is going to turn out to be very, very important. Like I was pointing out, for some of you all, probably geometry agar kiya hai, nahi kiya, going through the formula list which is available on MyZone might be a great way of ensuring at least magga maar ke chale gaye. Jo direct application of formula hai, usme se 2 question nikal gaye. हर almost every year ZAT में 1-2 क्वेश्चन तो डायरेक्ट एप्लीकेशन ऑफ फॉर्मूला आता है ज्योमेट्री. वो कौन सा मिक्सचर्स में वो रिप्लेसमेंट वाला भी ऑलमोस्ट हर साल आ जाता है. यस और नो शशांक? रिप्लेसमेंट का फॉर्मूला मत करके चले जाओ, एक उठ के आ जाएगा. So these are certain things which are known, which will come or have a very high probability of coming. So do ensure you do that. At max, 1 more mock test, which means या तो आज शाम को, ideally कल in the same time slot as the ZAT exam, 2 to 5, take 1 mock test over. Saturday को कुछ नहीं करना, Sunday को तो obviously कुछ नहीं करना in the morning before the actual exam. But at max 1 mock test, which you can go ahead and write tomorrow. That's about it. Current affairs पे थोड़ा time spend कर लो. There is a compendium on MyZone. Go through it. There are current affairs sessions that Salik sir has taken. They're on YouTube as well. They've happened in your batch as well. If you're in the online classes, which is that online class or the non-CAT online class, or you're in a classroom program, they've happened. Go through those sessions. Go through the sessions which are available on YouTube as well. Go through the compendium. It will hold you in good stead. ये मत करके आना कि जीके छोड़ दिया पूरा. Negative marking नहीं है, पूरा attempt करके आना. GK can only be picked up or might only be picked up during the interview stage by XLR, where they might have a short discussion on a couple of topics which might have come in the GK section in the paper. Okay? This time there is no essay writing, so you have adequate time. 20 questions है, 10 minute है, बहुत time है, chill मार के करना. Don't stress too much on this. And finally, like we state for every single exam, enough सो के जाना. And the best part about this exam is the timing, जो लोग लेट सोते हैं वो भी आराम से उठे 10-11 बजे, जो लोग जल्दी सोते हैं वो भी आराम से उठे अपने 5-6 बजे. 2 से 5 होपफुली आप सोते नहीं हो. होपफुली यू डोंट हैव अ हैबिट ऑफ स्लीपिंग इन द आफ्टरनून. जस्ट वन थिंग, ensure you've had your lunch and everything and you've reached the exam center by 1:15 so that you're not late and you go in smoothly. Carry water bottle with you. Carry the basic things that you're supposed to carry, which is an admit card, water bottle, a photo ID proof. Pen, I have not read.
Okay, one girly advice. So I have one girly advice. Girls, please do not wear any jewelry. No earrings, no chains, no bracelet, no kada, no rings. Please don't let you take anything. And then if it's expensive, you can't leave it there also. So please take off all jewelry, before you go. Tonight, tomorrow night, just take it off. When you come back, any religious
Agreed.
signs also, they don't allow you to take inside. It's a very difficult thing. I have faced that a bit just like last month. I had to run back, go home, 15 minutes and keep everything and come back. Because at the center, there are no places also to keep anything valuable. So don't take anything with you. Don't wear any earrings, any chain, anything. No jewelry, please. So that's
जीबी सर, आई वुड से कि यू सेड के आराम से उठ के जाओ, बट आई थिंक दैट हैज मेड श्योर कि कोई आदमी लेट तक ना सोए. Everyone has got a center that is very far from their homes.
mine is like 45 kilometers from my
Sitting
home.
here. Yeah. So I've got Meerut sitting here about 65, 70 odd kilometers, but not too bad ना. I'm saying 2 बजे का एग्जाम है, 1 बजे पहुंचना है, फिर भी 10:30 निकलना होगा, 11 निकलना होगा. And like CAT slot 1, जहाँ even if the center is next to my home, I need to get up at 5:36. So even if I sleep at 2 o'clock on Saturday night, I can get up at 9 o'clock, leave home at 10:30 and still reach my center. So I think from that perspective, that is a cool exam. They don't hate you for your sleep, unlike CAT, which doesn't want you to sleep.
I got my center as Kanpur. I got my center as Kanpur.
So you start traveling
तो
today.
वो तो उस दिन सुबह नहीं जाओगे ना, वो तो कल जाओगे, तो उस दिन सुबह तो सो पाओगे. तो या
So ठीक है. So विशेष सबकी ऐसी ही हालत है, don't worry about it. So
मेरे दोस्त का 1000 किलोमीटर से ऊपर है, तो तुम खुश हो जाओ. रिलेटिव ग्रेडिंग, तुम्हारा 200, उसका 1000, ऑलरेडी तुम जीत रहे हो. मतलब this is called RG-गिरी. You'll probably get to know more on that when you get into a B school. But ये proper RG वाला फंडा होता है. मतलब 3 Idiots में था ना, दुश्मन अगर फर्स्ट आता है दुख होता है, दोस्त फर्स्ट आता है उससे ज्यादा दुख होता है. तो ये उसी टाइप का है कि दोस्त को ज्यादा दूर जाना पड़ा, उससे ज्यादा खुशी हो रही है. So it's basically that. मैं तो खुश हूँ, like विशेष is stating. Clive Bixby is stating दिल्ली बोल के रोहतक बॉर्डर पे दे दिया सेंटर. तो दिल्ली है भाई, उसमें क्या है, रोहतक बॉर्डर दिल्ली है.
मेरा रोहतक बॉर्डर पे ही है.
एक साथ चले जाओ, देख लो, कारपूलिंग कर लो, पोल्यूशन कम होगी. At this point in time, Delhi needs it. Okay, let's keep moving. Certain do's, guys. Part 1, which is time management, we've already gone ahead and addressed already. My recommendation remains the same. Please ensure you keep a buffer at the end, some 15-20 minutes, if not that, at least 10 minutes, that you can come back to 1 or 2 sections wherever you feel now I can score a few additional. Keep that buffer. Don't be hard-nosed कि मेरे को 50, 50, 70 इसी order में करना है और मैं end के लिए कोई time नहीं रखूंगा. You might come back to regret it. So don't do that. Have hard stops in between. That's the ideal. Carefully reading questions. I think Abhilasha was pointing this out and GP was also pointing this out earlier. कि context समझ लेना भाई. If the question is turning around and stating that what is it that you need to do to maximize revenue, and one of the options is cost cutting measures, that might help profitability, it will not help revenue. So don't think that, oh, ये तो best चीज है, ethical है बहुत ज्यादा. देखो ना लोगों की नौकरी गई, ना कुछ किया, हम मार्केटिंग में कम पैसा करेंगे, रेवेन्यू बढ़ गया. नहीं, that has nothing to do with revenue. So don't be very clear on what the question is talking about and just go ahead and answer basis that. Like Shashank was pointing out when he discussed quant, easy sitters को तो तुरंत कर लेना, and that goes across the table. मतलब in verbal also, that's exactly how I like to look at it. I like to start with verbal. पहले grammar देख लूं, vocab यहाँ तो आता है नहीं आता. अब vocab बैठ के I can't derive a vocabulary meaning out of it.
You know it
Word
or you
par
don't
made
know
is
it.
ना तो
So
रट
it's
के आए.
like it's done or
Correct.
just leave. So don't waste
As simple
time.
as that.
Yeah.
So the easier ones, just finish it off ASAP. You know, even in quant, like Shashank, easy वाले उठाओ, खत्म करो. अगर चाहते हो, and this is a paper where I think utilizing the first 5 minutes in every section to go through the paper might be a good idea. Like we used to state in the DILR section in CAT. I think here you can do the same as well, especially DI part में. क्या मैं DI से शुरू कर सकता हूँ? First 15 मिनट के अंदर मेरे 2 DI हो गए, 6 मार्क हो गए. वाओ. You know, if I'm aiming for HRM, 20 मिनट के अंदर 6 मार्क पॉकेट में आ गए, मेरा तो कट ऑफ खत्म हो गया भाई 20 मिनट के अंदर. अब तो जो भी आएगा वो मक्खन है, वो मसाला है. शायद BM का भी कॉल आ जाएगा HRM सोच के. So you know, that's the mindset. Just look for positives in everything that you do. Calm, composed, खाना वाना खा के जाना, बहुत ज़्यादा heavy मत खाना that you need to use the restroom in the middle of the exam, and do carry water. And Delhi is cold. I'm sure North is cold. Major parts of India are cold. Please ensure you're covered well enough. सर्दी वर्दी ना लगे. So just ensure that is done. उसके मामले में couple of things, there might be a couple of centers जहाँ वो बोल दे यार shoes allowed नहीं है. So probably socks with floaters might work. They might say कि जो आपने hoodie पहनी है उसमें pockets नहीं होने चाहिए, so probably wear a hoodie without pockets. Those sort of things just be slightly careful on. And what Abhilasha stated कि भाई jewelry नहीं पहनना. And मेरे को भी cat में बोला गया था, my ring went and trust me, stress होती है यार. I too couldn't go back home. तो मेरे को तो stress.
I had to take off my diamond studs. And then they were like, you can't keep it here. I went crazy. Where do I leave my diamonds? There was no place.
Correct.
So
and the problem is during the exam, you don't want all the stress.
No, it flusters you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I just wanted to say one thing. Sorry, GB, I'm just interrupting. While we were talking about those decision-making questions, guys, always go to the question statement, not to the story. Go to the question statement and see what criteria they have defined. And then check your answer based on that criteria specifically. So the story might be something, but the criteria is very clearly mentioned, and you spot that and pick your answer according to that. You will never go wrong. So don't worry about the story, but pick what the criteria is marked. Sometimes they will give you 2 or 3 criteria. So write those down. You have a rough sheet. They give you lots of rough paper. So write those criteria down and check which option works on all 3 or which option works on all 4. Right? And then mark your answer. There is ample amount of time to do this. Like in this mock also, I'm sorry I was not able to start off. The first case in decision making जो Riverdale वाला था, वो actually बहुत easy था अगर आप उसे लिख लेते criteria को. So all you need to do is spot those criteria, write them down, and then tick mark all the options based on that. You will actually find the questions to be much easier. Don't try to do it mentally, then you lose track of everything. So my bad. I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Marmik and Charva pointing out that we are lucky. अपना तो 10 मिनट 20 मिनट दूर है सेंटर. Guys, don't fall into this trap. ये लोग ने इसको as 5th option दिया था, तो वो लोग को 5th option वही मिल गया. They've understood how to fool that. Next time onwards, जहाँ तुम्हें चाहिए उसको 4th 5th option दे देना, वहां पहुंच जाओगे. But jokes apart, yeah. But Shashank, probably you can pick up, Mithilesh's question, which he's asking. Any last minute tips for DI specifically? कोई tips दे सकते हो?
देखो, basically DI में we are talking about the second set of this mock, right? So if you are going to read the data, so data is very confusing. But when you start reading the question, you are going to realize कि set difficult नहीं है, right? So when you are trying to solve a DI, so before just reading the data and concluding anything, when you are reading the data, just think कि मैं कुछ पढ़ रहा हूँ, ठीक है? Don't conclude anything from that. When after you have read all the questions, then figure out what data actually is talking about. ठीक है? A lot of times data is difficult, but questions are easy. A lot of times questions are easy, but data is difficult, right? So एक बार वो समझ लो कि डेटा किस बारे में बात कर रहा है, उसके बाद क्वेश्चन पढ़ो, then start solving the question. And in that I am saying कि you are taking 10 minutes to solve one DI. मतलब 3 क्वेश्चन आ रहे हैं, 3 क्वेश्चन तुम 10 मिनट ले रहे हो. Don't panic about it. It's not CAT. 10 मिनट में 3 नंबर, you are good to go. Majority of the questions are going to be on percentage change, your ratios, the maximum value, the minimum value, average. So basically जो data interpretation है वो generally इन्हीं का होता है कि maximum value क्या है, किस year में मतलब 4 चीजें हैं, किस year में आपका revenue maximum है, किस year में रेवेन्यू मिनिमम है, तो इस टाइप की चीजें, मैक्सिमम मिनिमम पूछते हैं, रेशियो पूछते हैं, परसेंटेज चेंज पूछते हैं, इसके अलावा कुछ नहीं है डीआई में. सो टेक टाइम लग रहा है तो पैनिक नहीं करना है इसमें. मतलब अनलाइक कैट, इन कैट यू हैव 40 मिनट्स टाइम लिमिट, इन दैट यू डोंट हैव अ टाइम लिमिट. तो 15 मिनट में या 20 मिनट में तुम्हारे 6 क्वेश्चन हुए, तुमने बहुत अच्छा करा है पेपर में. डोंट वरी अबाउट इट, राइट? So basically, if you are averaging 3 minutes per question, you can still easily do 45 to 50 questions in the exam. And I think that is something that you should try to do. That's it. हाँ, और हाँ, important चीज ये कि percentage to fraction conversion पूरा याद होना चाहिए. If I am saying 1/7, so 14.28% is 1/7. ये आपको देखते ही क्लिक करना चाहिए. अगर ये चीज नहीं है तो मोर लाइकली जो आसान क्वेश्चन भी हैं वो भी डिफिकल्ट हो जाएंगे. सो ये सारी चीजें ध्यान रखना है बस. And you should be good at approximation. Half of the time you won't be needing to use calculator. Bas.
So I think this is something Abhilasha and I, both of us pointed out. GP also pointed out. Yeah, DM scenarios को overthink मत करना. Not one of those places where once you answered you come back to it. नहीं यार ये भी हो सकता है. नहीं यार उस वैसे भी देखूं. Don't. Generally जो first gut feel होता है ना, most of us inherently are ethical, logical, practical human beings. Generally our first gut feel is correct. You know, I always say generally, again, take it with a pinch of salt, not stating always, but generally it is. तो अगर कुछ लग रहा है, just and you are quite confident, mark it and move on. But having said that, second point is also important. ये नहीं कि मेरे को समझ नहीं आ रहा पर फिर भी पंट लूंगा, कुछ तो guess मारूंगा, कुछ तो करूंगा, क्योंकि 21 out of 21 करने हैं DM में. No. While there is negative marking for unattempted questions beyond the first 8, that is only 0.01. Right? Sorry, 0.1. My bad. Only 0.1. Whereas incorrect के लिए you get 0.25 deducted. That's 2.5 times the penalty. So yeah, don't stress too much over unattempted questions. Somebody had also stated unattempted का फंडा क्या है, कैसे होता है. We've done enough shots on that. Go ahead and look at it. But just to explain, say I attempt 50 questions out of 75. 25 are unattempted. First 8 के लिए कोई penalty नहीं है. Next 17 के लिए penalty है into 0.1. 1.7 marks will be deducted. They'll be deducted in a particular order, in a particular ratio. Ratio क्या है? Verbal में समझो 26 questions है तो 26 upon 75 into 1.7. इतना deduction in verbal. DM में 21 है तो 21 upon 75 into 1.7. इतना deduction in DM. And quant में 28 है तो 28 upon 75 into 1.7. इतना deduction in quant. That's how for the unattempted the penalty is calculated, but that is nothing compared to the penalty for incorrect questions. So don't randomly guess. Please don't do that. Also, this is what Shashank pointed out, and I remember a student also wrote this sometime back कि ये सोच के कि बहुत टाइम है, कई बार एक क्वेश्चन में इतना टाइम लग जाता है कि वो पेपर का अब टाइम लिमिट एक कैट के जितना बन जाता है. So don't let that happen. Like I said, there is a hard stop for every section. Please ensure you also have a hard stop in your mind for every question. You might turn around and say, Abhilasha might turn around and state hypothetically her hard stop in quant is 6 minutes. But in verbal, it is 4 minutes. For me, it could be 4 minutes in quant and 6 for verbal, but we should have hard stops. कि इसके बाद नहीं हुआ, I move on. Similarly, there should be a hard stop 50% into this. मतलब quant में 2 minutes for me. अगर हिला ही नहीं पाया question, I have no idea where to move, what to do. Hard stop, move on. ये नहीं अब टाइम लगा के कुछ सोचूंगा, कुछ नई थ्योरी डेवलप करूंगा, नहीं होने वाला. Okay, so don't do all of that. Okay, please have that. And like we have always stated, 2 दिन बाकी है, कुछ नया मत उठा लेना. अगर कुछ करना ही है तो just mug up some geometry formulae. That's all that I would recommend in terms of new things that you want to do, that you can just go vomit there, write the formula and just substitute. And finally, 3 and 5 go hand in hand. While you shouldn't spend too much time on one question, don't end up spending lesser time also. You've got enough time. Okay. Anything that Shashank, Abhilasha, you would want to add here?
I would like to say that if you have if you have already attempted few mocks and you are not very comfortable that what you should do, what you shouldn't, I would say go and watch video solutions. उन वीडियो सॉल्यूशंस में आपके जो हैं कुछ कंसेप्ट, बेसिक कंसेप्ट्स भी कवर किए गए हैं, राइट? तो सो वॉच वीडियो सॉल्यूशंस एज वेल. That might help you revise, that might help you understand the question. ठीक है. सो वो भी एक बार देखना चाहिए, मुझे लगता है उससे भी थोड़ा फर्क पड़ ही जाता है आपका टाइम मैनेजमेंट. सो बेसिकली दैट माइट गिव यू अ डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव, एज जीबी सर हैज सेड कि नया कुछ नहीं करना है, क्योंकि अगर नया करेंगे तो लग जाएगी इस टाइम पे, तो नया नहीं करना है. एंड दैट्स इट फ्रॉम माय एंड. एंड मिथिलेश, तुमने मजाक में 5th गोवा दिया था, मैंने जानबूझ के 3rd गोवा दिया था. सो आई स्टिल गॉट कानपुर.
Okay, guys, I also have something to
Perfect.
state here. So, the next 2 days for verbal, do your common confusables. That's something that will really stand you in good stead in the closures. So, that's one. Also, like I said, revise your grammar. That's another thing. And like Shashank said, if you can go back to the video solutions of the CR questions, those will really help. Also for decision making, go back and just view all the videos that we have put out, because a lot of concepts, like Shashank said, are discussed. How to handle the question is also discussed. So if you are able to see those videos and understand, okay, this is how I should be doing the question, that will be really helpful. That said, also don't panic while you're doing the questions. Take your time, do as many questions as you can do. Don't worry about मुझे छोड़ने में problem है, छोड़ने में problem नहीं है. You can leave as many questions. Just pick the ones that you are able to get right and mark those. The ones you can't, don't worry about that. मुझे नहीं समझ में आ रहा, छोड़ दो भाई, next question पे चले जाओ. Loss है नहीं उतना. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. ये this fear that we have 8 questions के बाद negative हो जाएगा. That's such a huge misconception. So don't do that. Just relax, pick your questions, do them, take your time. That's the good thing about this exam. Take your time. Choose your RCs very wisely. Don't go crazy. And while you're looking at the RCs, please look at the questions also, because the question stems will direct you to questions that will be easier to solve. Don't just look at the passage and its clunkiness. Also look at the questions, because sometimes you will find the questions are easier in the difficult passages also. So you can take that as a clue also. So that's my bit.
Absolutely. Perfect. Moving on, ideal order of attempting. I think we've discussed this. Shashank had also pointed it out earlier. So did I. Either you start off with the strongest section, ki haan, build on confidence, or you might want to start off with a section like verbal, where you say, yaar, sabse zyada sochna padta hai, fresh mind chahiye, baad mein jaake itne RC nahi read kar paunga. Up to you. Whatever has been working for you, please go ahead and do that. Don't change anything at this moment in time. Basis what Abhilasha, Shashank, I, Sazil, GP, anybody state, just stick to what has been working for you. Okay. How to handle decision-making scenarios effectively. Again, we've spoken about that very specifically. Logical, fair, ethical, practical in terms of your answers, no personal bias. Look at what the question stem is categorically asking for. Passage को भी एक बार देख लो कि passage में, जैसे I remember there was this one particular passage, I think last year, where there was this guy who has a passion for cars and he's got an SUV, and tier 3 city hai, and koi law aane wala hai ki diesel guzzling vehicles will not be allowed. So he's stressed, and a couple of options had ki usko ye karna chahiye, but he had a passion for SUVs, which was a very, very important part. कि जो भी वो करेगा वो passion suddenly गायब नहीं हो जाएगा. So along with the question stem, in the matter, in the caselet, at least the important parameters need to be kept in mind. ये जो बंदा है इसको क्या वो 2 चीजें पसंद है, क्या वो 3 चीजें पसंद है, so that I know when I'm evaluating, इन 2-3 के basis पे मेरे को evaluate करना है. So the evaluation parameters is something that you should never forget. So do keep that in mind. Abhilasha, anything you'd want to add here?
No, like you said, the decision-making criteria has to be very clear in your mind, that what is the question asking you and what are the criteria that you will keep in mind. Is it feasibility? Is it practicality? Is it the legality of the issue? So keep those in mind. Once you've got that, then just go through the options and pick the ones that will fulfill those criteria. You'll be able to do that.
Okay, now this is important. I see a couple of you all stating, यार इससे ज़्यादा concentrate ही नहीं हो पाता. यार, I have a recommendation. 170 minutes में you can go ahead and take a few breaks. Okay, you kickstart a section. Say hypothetically मैं verbal कर रहा हूँ. 45 minutes मैंने verbal किया. I'll take a 2-minute break. बहुत ज्यादा लिख रहे हैं, सॉल्व कर, वर्बल में ज्यादा लिख नहीं रहे होंगे, क्वांट में शायद ज्यादा लिख रहे होंगे, बट जस्ट एज एन एग्जांपल से बहुत लिख रहे हैं तो एक्सरसाइज कर लिया, थोड़ा पीछे होके माइंड 2 मिनट शांति ले ली, टेक अ ब्रेक, हैव अ सिप ऑफ वाटर, टेक अ मेंटल ब्रेक, टेक अ 2 minute breather. This is one of those exams where you can afford to do that. You are just coming from to back time based exams like NMAT and SNAP, जहां आधा सेकंड ब्रीथ करने में भी डर लगता है, यहाँ पे वो नहीं है. Take that 2 minute break, take that 1 minute break, refresh yourself, move on to the next section. Put in 43-45 minutes on DM, take another 2 minute break. ये breaks लेना are, just like we state, this is all investment. Taking breaks in an exam is also an investment. It's an investment to doing well in the exam. So for all practical purposes, in your mind, it could be a 160-minute exam. कि 10 minutes तो मैं breaks लेने वाला हूँ, 5 breaks of 5 minutes, 2 minutes each. Or I'm going to take 5 breaks of 1.5 minutes each. That's completely fine. Please don't fret over it. And I see a lot of you all stating paper तो chill है, मेरे को टेंशन है मैं 3 घंटे बैठ पाऊंगा कि नहीं, मैं 2 hours 50 minutes बैठ पाऊंगा कि नहीं, मैं ट्रैवल इतना कर रहा हूँ उसमें बैठूंगा, फिर आके 2 hours 50 minutes बैठना है, मैं क्या करूंगा. There are multiple ways to handle that. Travel करके कहीं आसपास पहले ही कर लो, कॉफी पी लो, चिल मार लो, कहीं कुछ कर लो, then move into the examination center. That's completely up to you. But don't let all of this play with your mind in terms of I don't have the ability to do it. Sometimes adrenaline rush is such, वो 3 hours कैसे खत्म हुआ ना पता भी नहीं चलेगा. बोल रहे होगे 10 मिनट कम पड़ गए मुझे, वो 10 मिनट जीके के भी मुझे याद दे देते काश. So you never know how things will go. Don't get into all of that, but tell yourself I can take those couple of breaks here and there to just refresh myself. Anything from you all, Abhilasha, Shashank?
I would like to tell one scary theory that in that scenario, a lot of people can panic. 2 years back, I think in 2022, what happened with me? I reached the center. I reached on time. Everyone was on time. और server issue हो गया वहाँ पे. So exam was supposed to be started at 2 o'clock, but instead of 2, it started at 3:30. So half of the people were panicked. ठीक है, लेकिन एक बात याद रखो कि if exam is going to start at 3:30, they are still going to give you complete 3 hours. वो टाइम ऊपर नीचे नहीं होगा. वो ऐसा नहीं है कि वो 1.5 घंटा चला गया तो 1.5 घंटे काट देंगे. सो अगर आपके सेंटर पे भी फॉर एग्जांपल सर्वर आउटेज होती है तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आपका टाइम कम हो जाएगा. सो इन दैट टाइम इफ यू आर एबल टू कीप काम, इफ यू आर कंपोज्ड, तो इसका मतलब आप अपने सेंटर पे तो जंग जीत चुके हैं, क्योंकि आपके सेंटर में बाकी कोई सॉर्टेड नहीं है. क्योंकि एग्जाम अगर 15 मिनट लेट हो जाता है ना तो आधे लोगों के प्राण निकल जाते हैं. माई एग्जाम वाज 1.5 hour लेट. टाइम उन्होंने पूरा दिया. I left the office at 6:30, left the center at 6:30, 7 o'clock, जैसे जैसे धीरे निकलते रहे. तो ये जो चीज है इस टाइप के अनइवन सिनारियोज में, और ये जहां पे आपको लगता है कि आपके साथ गलत हो सकता है, तो उस टाइप के सिनारियो में पैनिक नहीं करना. बस अगर आप पैनिक कर गए तो आधा गेम आपका वहीं खत्म हो गया. उसके बाद फिर उस बात से फर्क नहीं पड़ता आपको कितना आता है. उसके बाद फिर तो जंग हार गए. तो इफ यू स्टे काम, मतलब आप अपने सेंटर के टॉपर हो, क्योंकि आपके सेंटर पे सब जंग हार चुके हैं अगर 1 घंटा लेट हुआ. सो डोंट पैनिक, दैट्स इट. डोंट पैनिक, व्हाटएवर हैपेंस टाइम पूरा मिलेगा. इतना पहले से सोच के जाइए. And that's
No,
it
you're
from
so
my
right.
side.
This happened to us this time in MyCat also. That the center, the server did not start. I think for a lot of people, for 1.5, 2 hours, it was not starting. And because you're in the center, you have nothing. Nobody's telling you anything. You're just waiting. So yes, it's very important to keep calm and just stay focused. Also, at times, what happens with a lot of students is that you start panicking. मुझसे हो नहीं रहा. एक question, 2 question, 3 question, 4 question, and then you're like, I'm not able to do it. Don't panic. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath and come back. It's not, these papers are not and that definitely gives you so much time that you have time to pivot and change the pattern of the paper, or to change the way you're handling the paper. So please relax, take time, take that 1-2 minute break. Like Gautam said, take your time, just take a break and then pivot, and you can do it. And it's not difficult. And then again, look for the questions that you are able to solve. That will help you crack it.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, Rid, there are video solutions, so please go ahead and have a look at it for the PYQ. Pranav, there is no cutoff for GK. Okay. What if I can't solve a DI set or an RC passage? Great. Lesser choice to be worried about. Move on. As
Just go
simple as
on.
that.
There's so many passages. Yeah, 5 passages you have. Why do you want to get stuck on one? Move. Go to the next one. There's plenty of things you can attempt in VRC. At least in VRC, there's so much to do. You have plenty of time and plenty of questions. So if you don't get one RC, go to the next one. There's time to read and crack it.
Just move on. As in life, we state, keep moving on. So yeah, please keep moving on here as well. Mohammed is asking Abhilasha that tomorrow Naveen and you are taking a XAT marathon. Will there be PYQPs or will there be new questions?
No, we will cover some PYQs, very few, and a lot of fresh questions. Because we've already covered a lot of PYQs.
Like yeah. Perfect. I've got the XAT exam center very far away from my hometown. Should I appear? Stupid question. Yes, you should. Yes, you should.
Of course. That is an important exam. How can you miss it? Just go one day before.
You know, I like what Mehul just stated, for the previous question कि DI का एक सेट छोड़ के आगे बढ़ते हैं जैसे इंडियन टीम MCG से मूव ऑन करके SCG जा रही है कल एकदम उसी वे से मूव ऑन करना है जिंदगी में so I completely agree with that Mehul and yeah just go ahead take that guys all the very best that's more or less it from our end just one thing to add this time we are doing something different and something new for the XAT analysis we are bringing you 2 analysis not just one we'll have one analysis in English and one in Hindi. We've gotten this request from quite a few of you all, sir. थोड़ा हिंदी में ज़्यादा बात करा करिए. And on the flip side, some of you all stating, can you please just talk in English and not in Hindi? So we decided why not cater to both audience sets, and we've got both exam analysis that will be happening on Sunday at 8 p.m. You can catch us on the English one or the Hindi one. As you see, the 4 of us are common. Naveen will also be joining us, so we'll kind of be jumping from one to the other. कहीं पे पहले verbal होगा, दूसरे वाले पे पहले quant हो रहा होगा, तो वो दूसरे वाले में second verbal होगा, पहले वाले में second DM हो रहा होगा, something like that. So catch whatever you feel you're comfortable with, whichever language you feel more at home with. Passion जिसमें तुम्हारा ज़्यादा निकलता है, हमारा generally हिंदी में ज़्यादा passion निकलता है. Can't help it. देसी है eventually. But yeah, we want to try something new.
This is unprecedented. This is not happened 2 analysis at the same time in 2 different languages.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Not happened before. We're doing it for the first time. Hopefully we're able to cater to a slightly larger audience and help everybody out with what it is. We'll also try our level best to remember most of the questions so that we can discuss them, especially in quant and DI. DM में नहीं remember हो सकता because एक word याद रखना होगा, question stem याद रखना होगा, options याद रखने होंगे, which will be impossible. But we'll try remembering a lot in verbal, not the RC part, but the verbal part, and a lot in the QADI part. So please urge Shashank and Naveen to remember as much as possible. Shashank को अभी बोल दो, Naveen को कल अपने मैराथन में बोल देना. इन दोनों पे निर्भर है कि वो लोग याद करके लाएंगे. ठीक है? So I am doing it from your end. But that's about it. I'm guessing और doubt है नहीं. हमने बहुत doubts ले लिए. This was supposed to be a short session just to boost you all a little bit. But I think we've made it slightly long. So that's about it from our end. All the very best. Last words, Abhilasha, Shashank, anything you all want to add?
I think just join us for the marathon tomorrow. Plugging that in. And all the best for XAT. You will crack it. Just remember, cool, focus. Just go and do your best.
And Mehul is keeping.
Mehul ने statement pass कर दिया शशांक. ये तो करके आएंगे.
Now the onus of remembering the entire QADI section is on you.
I'm not sure, Mehul, but I'm very good at disappointing people. I'll try my level best to remember all the questions.
Sir, Tamil में भी चाहिए analysis. हम Hotstar ही बन जाएंगे. Tamil, Telugu, और भी जो languages है सब करेंगे, don't worry. But to begin with, let's focus on 2, which is English and Hindi, which hopefully will cater to most of y'all out there. That's about it from our end, guys. All the very best. Best of luck for that. catch you on Sunday. What are the marathon timings tomorrow, Abhilash?
I
3
think
to 9. 3 to 6 is
3 to
verbal
9.
and 6 to 9 is quant.
Perfect. 3 to 6 verbal, 6 to 9 quant, catches on YouTube. Okay. All the very best to all of y'all. Do well, make us proud. Catch you tomorrow and then again on Sunday. See ya.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys.